Hey, unruly subjects, it's Chenjerai, and I need your help to keep the show going strong. If you love what we do here, consider supporting us by joining our Patreon community. It's the best way to back the show, and you get some incredible benefits in return. Membership starts at just $5 a month. I mean, there's nothing that cheap, at least in New York. And you immediately get ad-free episodes and exclusive premium episodes. That includes interview outtakes and other extras you ain't gonna hear anywhere else. But that's not all. You can access the Unruly chat and polls. When we have a live event, you're gonna get the pre-sale tickets and the merch. Oh my God, the merch. You know the merch is gonna be fly. And you receive invitations to our Q&A live streams and, my favorite, our annual exclusive hangout with me, the producers, and a special guest. So yo, come on people, join the Unruly mob. Visit patreon.com/unrulysubjects. And thank you for making this show possible. Row Home Productions.
I declare martial law to protect the Free Republic of Korea from the threat of North Korean communist forces.
Protesters and police clash after President Yoon Suk-yeol makes accusations of communism in the government and declares martial law for the first time since the military coup of 1979.
Members of a nationwide umbrella labor union went on a general strike today.
The group, known as the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions, has announced an indefinite strike until Yoon Suk-yeol steps down.
Martial law troops have been withdrawn.
Some holding placards calling for the South Korean president to be arrested. These demonstrators from the country's largest labor union group gathered in Seoul on Wednesday.
A South Korean court sentenced former President Yoon Suk-yeol to life in prison on Thursday. He was found guilty of masterminding an insurrection linked to his December 2024 attempt to impose martial law.
What up, y'all? Unruly Subjects is in the building. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. We here, y'all. Listen. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to thank everybody who's been listening. You know, we are getting more and more people who are tuning into our show, and we love that. You know what I mean? And a special welcome to new listeners who found us because you might have heard the drop over on Empire City. You know what I'm saying? Welcome, Empire City people. You know what I mean? One thing you're going to learn about this show, there's a lot of applause and far too many air horns. But yeah, if you're coming over from Empire City, welcome. You know, this show is a little bit wild by design, you know, but we do try to tackle some big political questions. You know, occasionally we'll go into history. We talk a lot about ongoing struggles, movement culture. And we also just try to do some fun stuff. So, you know, just kind of make sense of the world. So anyway, I just want to thank y'all for being here. And I also got to give a big shout out to our Patreon supporters. Yo, big shout out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all making it happen for us, you know. I mean, listen, this show is independent and for free. And that means we don't have a big giant machine. We are the machine. You know what I'm saying? And if you want this show to continue, please, you know, encourage everybody, you know, who listens to the show to come on and subscribe. There's a number of levels at which you can get involved and, you know, you can do what's right for you. And by the way, we got all kinds of dope stuff up there too that you get if you kind of go on the Patreon that you don't get in the regular feed. So one example is this conversation, a hilarious conversation I had with Professor Demetrius Noble and the amazing singer Coco Watson about this video that's been circulating on social media. This guy basically takes his fiance, you know, to a restaurant for a birthday. All right. And, you know, they eat the meal. And then at the end of the meal, the waiter comes out to sing happy birthday holding the cake. But this waiter is doing way too much. You know what I'm saying? He's doing like Usher too much. And so it's actually really funny. And so me and D Noble and Coco chop it up. And we actually even managed to extract some serious insight from this totally unserious news. So, you know, we got fun stuff like that on there. But getting into today's episode, because, this one is like, this is one of them ones. So a little while back, I talked with the iconic labor organizer and author Bill Fletcher Jr. about the idea of a general strike. I mean, you got to go hear that episode, by the way, if you haven't heard it. I mean, it's, Bill's ability to really help, everybody understand what a general strike is, what makes it strong, and really how it speaks to the moment we're in now, including things like what happened in Minneapolis. I mean, it's just, it's one of our most popular episodes, and you got to hear it. But one of the things that Bill was wrestling with was a hard truth. There's a lot of people in the United States right now who are talking about general strikes, and some are actively building toward it. But there's far fewer people who actually have experience using labor power at that scale, right? Especially when you're not just talking about wages or contracts, but how can you stop an authoritarian turn? How do you use the power of organized workers along with a broader civil society to do more than march? Because you're going to have to welcome in a whole lot of other folks to really hit the scale you need. And how do you do that and create enough pressure to really interrupt what's going on and stop it, right? And that took me back to something that happened at the end of 2024. On the night of December 3rd in South Korea, then President Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law. And, I remember hearing about this and it was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I remember this was like, wow, the president declared martial law. You always hear people say that, and it happened in South Korea. And he framed it as a response to, budgetary issues and all kinds of other things. But what it meant in practice was he's suspending democratic politics through military force, right? I mean, they brought the police down around the National Assembly. Certain kinds of political activity were banned. Strikes were banned, and basically anybody who was deemed to be his opponent was really in danger of being arrested, right? And one of the groups that responded immediately was the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions. I mean, within minutes, they were like mobilizing, communicating. They put some people on the streets, and they recognized that this is a democratic emergency. And they were involved, really, one of the key forces pushing, this struggle forward throughout the next several months. And the results were amazing. They, first of all, got martial law rescinded within a matter of hours. But they didn't stop there. They said, listen, any president who has done this can't remain in office. And so they called a general strike, and they were one of the major organizations, helping people, pushing people into the streets to call for the impeachment, which was successful, and then eventually the arrest and imprisonment of this president. And so, I was just thinking about that, and I was like, wow, I would love to talk to someone from the KCTU, right? Because they've actually lived through it. But then I had a second thought, which was like, I just imagined myself, as I was kind of like, trying to email and call people to see if I could reach someone from the KCTU. I'm like, why would they talk to me? Like, this is a serious labor organization who's got all kinds of people. They're involved in current struggles. I think, the last news I checked, like I saw Samsung is about to go on strike. Like they have so many things happening. Why would they just be like, hey, hi, I'm Chenjerai from Unruly Subjects. Would you talk to my random podcast? But guess what, folks? Sometimes in this business, what you learn is you always got to try to make the call. You know what I'm saying? Journalism, podcasting, you got to do it. And I am proud to announce that today's guest is Mikyung Ryu, the International Director of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions. So to be clear, the organization that Mikyung Ryu leads was a key force in this process, right? I mean, it wasn't only labor, right? All kinds of people got involved, ordinary citizens, legislators, right? Just broader civil society, people came into the streets. But Mikyung Ryu was really kind and generous with her time and really insightful. She's a serious person, and I just got to say, I wish y'all could have seen her expression when the unruly air horns went off. But at any rate, it was a really great discussion, and I'm so proud and can't wait for y'all to hear this. So after the break, my conversation with Mikyung Ryu, the International Director of the KCTU, on what happened that night, what labor did, what broader forces made the response possible, and what lessons people in the United States might learn from South Korea's fight to stop an authoritarian turn. Unruly Subjects is supported by listeners just like you. Join us at patreon.com/unrulysubjects. here, it's like when you think of some of the biggest events in U.S. history, things like the assassination of President, JFK, it's like everybody knows where they were. They can tell you where they were at that moment. Where were you at 10 p.m. on December 3rd? And how did you find out about what was going on?
December 3rd is a very ordinary day for me and for all Korean citizens.
That's Mikyung Ryu, the international director of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions.
And I was watching the news program at the time, and the anchor was discussing about the recent corruption issue of the then president's wife. And then suddenly, the screen of the TV was changed, and the former President Yoon Suk-yeol appeared.
Oh, wow.
And just started to read his statement. And I didn't know what is happening right at the time, because I was wondering what he's doing. He just read out a statement he prepared. And so he said that the opposition party blocked the passage of the budget bill, and they tried to cut the state budget for the child care. And then suddenly he moved that, so I will declare the martial law.
Wow.
So it's very, very difficult to digest at the time.
That sounds jarring. Like you're in front of the television watching the news. He breaks in and he's declaring martial law. How did you feel at that moment when he said that? Like in your body?
It's unbelievable because nobody expected that kind of a reaction from the government. We know that the government was taking the minor seat in the parliament. But in Korean politics, the president has bigger power than parliament, actually. So that to never justify declaration of any martial law. And, we passed through the military dictatorship in 1970s and 1980s when I was very, very young. And all the military coup and the political forces who tried to martial law was judged by the people in history. So we believe that that kind of undemocratic process will never happen in Korea.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember those early days of living under a more authoritarian rule? And did you hear stories about it too from your parents and other people like that?
Yes, actually, I personally from Gwangju. The city is known for the people's uprising in 1980s under the military dictatorship. And I was not living in Gwangju at that time, but when I grew up, for example, in elementary school, I heard a lot about the difficulties they faced during that time. Many young students, high school and university school students was killed by the military in protest, and there was a massacre by the order of the military commander at the time. So, but later, the two previous presidents from the military side was sentenced to death. Actually, they were pardoned later. But anyway, the history judged them. And after that, there are strong people's movement for democracy. And the military dictatorship was ended by the people's movement, especially labor movement. So we believe that we already moved from this dark age to the military regime through the people's power. So we believe that it will never happen. But I heard later that my colleagues who is based in Gwangju, they reminded that dark time when they heard the exact word martial law.
So here's the thing. It seems like a lot of this unfolded after on December 3rd within about 6 hours, right? Like there was like this phase. So take us through those first 6 hours.
Everybody was very, very, very shocked, and they faced difficult to understand the situation. And in my organization, the Korean Confederation of the Trade Unions, the leadership and the staff in the central office start to discuss through the telegram. And we found that the only way to stop the process of martial law is that the passage of the resolution to request the president to lift the martial law. So to do this, the parliamentary member should gather in the plenary hall in the National Assembly.
Oh my God! Hold on. Let me slow down. Let me slow you down 1 minute. Oh my God! So first of all, you want to create that environment of protest outside to help them understand, like, you have to do this. Like, if you don't, to create that pressure. Was that kind of like the plan? And also the fact that it's labor lets those legislators know, if you allow this to happen, all labor will be shut down.
It was not planned at that moment. We just instinctively go up here to the National Assembly. Something has happened. We have to do something. At the beginning, we just try to show our indignation, and then we just protest.
I just got to say, you all have some great organization where you could hop on Telegram and then suddenly you're like communicating with like a lot of major labor leaders in the country. Was it mainly just labor leaders on that call who were on the Telegram deciding to go down, or was it there other kinds of folks?
I think there are many similar discussions ongoing, but for me, my leadership would communicate with the other leaders in civil society and the People's Movement Organization and so on.
Within the KCTU, just paint the picture. Like, so you have like, these are people who work in like metal workers and what kind of industries are there? Like, what kind of people are on this call and in this organization?
Well, we are representing all sectors, including metal workers and public sector and service sectors and the public servant and teachers in public and private school and many precarious workers.
So on the Telegram call, the members of the KCTU started to discuss who they would send down to the National Assembly to stand outside and protest. And one person that had to be there was the president of the KCTU, Mikyung Ryu.
I have to say that our presidents have been arrested by the Yoon Suk-yeol government for organizing protests previously. So we instinctively felt like that our presidents may be in danger. So we encourage him to stay in a safer place like KCTU's office. But some people said that, maybe if the martial law was declared, the police or the military army try to get in or occupy the KCTU's office. So we briefly discuss about the safety of our president at that time. But anyway.
Oh man. So like, should he come or not? And if he doesn't come, is he safe where he is? Oh man. So the KCTU decided to send their vice president down instead of the president.
So one of our vice president, who is in charge of the external relations, the communication with the other organization, decided to make the first step. So she rushed to the National Assembly hall, and at that time we also disseminate the message to all our members through our Telegram channel. So I was at home because I should communicate with the International Trade Union Organization. So I sent the information to other colleagues in other parts of the world.
Right. Somebody has to be manning the phone so we can reach everybody and coordinate the things.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So everybody's on the call and they're like, we got to go down to the National Assembly. And then you get there. And what do you see?
Yes. When my colleagues arrived in assembly, the military army surrounded the National Assembly Hall. And the police was control the gates of the National Assembly. And my colleagues also saw the helicopters on the sky. And some military forces was going down from the helicopter as well.
Oh my God! How many people do you think were in the streets at this point?
It was not much, but many people start to join. And the people who gathered at that time was not only from the KCTU trade union, but ordinary citizens who were watching TV just came out And then some people start to help the National Assembly members to get in the National Assembly hall through the wall. So
They climbed the walls.
Yeah, they climbed the wall and we helped. And the colleague who was taking the sit-in strike has already microphone and amplifier and speaker. So the sound system. So we broke this and someone started to make a speech there to warn the military armies and to encourage people to protest in order.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, what I'm hearing, right, in a way, is that you all were able to bring a lot of pressure quickly. What were some of the struggles that allowed you all as a labor movement to build that kind of power? And, what did that look like in the KCTU? Because these are some of the lessons that we might need to hear over here, right? Like about what do we need to be putting in place now so that if these moments come, we're ready?
Even before the martial law declared, we planned to stage a mass mobilization on 4th of December. It was our plan.
This was already in motion before this announcement?
Yeah, because we were in the campaign or protest for his resignation. We view that he is anti-labor, anti-union, and he was already destructing the country's democracy.
Mikyung explained to me that President Yoon Suk-yeol had started his campaign against labor as soon as he was elected.
On day one, he declared that he will introduce the rule of law in labor relation.
Oh, yeah. That doesn't sound good at all.
What he thought was not rule of law, but rule by law. And the rule here, and law means the criminal law. So he wants to control the trade union movement through the criminal act. From the beginning, he started to the investigation on his own belief that union is corrupt. And he raised a lot of issues like in his imagination, the union's audit is not regular and they would not keep their financial books regularly. So he declared that he would look into the union's internal document. And he also launched so-called inspection on the collective bargaining agreement, whether this collective bargaining agreement is beyond the law. And he also launched intensive investigation, especially targeting the construction workers union, which was the strongest part of the KCTU at the time. And the construction workers is mainly daily workers, and they are sometimes on their own equipment, construction equipment.
What I see is that the president, he puts out a story that criminalizes labor. Like labor is maybe corrupt. I have to investigate it. We've seen something very similar here, right? Like this president has really attacked the NLRB and collective bargaining, eliminating, by the way, collective bargaining for federal workers here. And so while the story about labor being corrupt or a problem is false, in our case, this creates obstacles for organizing, like real legal obstacles. Did this president create those same kind of legal obstacles, and how did you navigate around that?
Yeah, so I have to mention that the trade union law in Korea is actually not facilitate the exercise of our constitutional rights and rather repress the exercise of the rights. So especially the construction workers who are daily workers and the owner of the equipment. So the labor law misclassify these workers as independent contractor, and they are not protected by the trade union law. And the regular labor management relation in kind of, for example, factory does not apply to the construction site. So the Yoon Suk-yeol government declared any activity which is not protected by the Trade Union Act is illegal and crime. So he declared that the construction workers union or organized criminal. So he investigated all the union activity, and during this campaign, one of the construction workers member committed suicide. Because he couldn't stand, it believed that he personally humiliated by the government. Actually, what he did is trying to organize the construction workers and fight to improve their working conditions. But he was labeled as a criminal, so he couldn't stand this humiliation anymore. So, and coincidentally, it was the May Day. So from that moment, KCTU declared that we cannot live under this administration. So from that time, we declare the resignation is our objective. And apart from this, for a long time, the KCTU have been campaigning for the revision of the Trade Union Act, which is very repressive. So we want to expand the definition of a worker and employer in the Trade Union Act to cover all workers regardless of their employment status and the contract relation with their employer. So we campaigned for a long time, and the parliament passed this bill, and the president vetoed this bill because he believed that it's harmful for the economy.
So this is all part of why you all called for his resignation. Is that correct? So this thing was planned December 4th already. But let me ask you this question. Here in our labor movement, there's a lot of divisions, and I want to give you an example of two different kinds of divisions. One is that the very established labor unions, the AFL-CIO, some of these unions sometimes can be a little bit conservative in terms of how they move. They want to figure out ways to work with the administration or also to work with the management of some of these corporations in a way that may not always serve like the rank and file workers. So that's one kind of division and problem when you're trying to take on fascism, actually, is that people, they're willing to move, they move slow. I heard actually Jesse Sharkey, who was former leader of the Chicago Teachers Union, he said, moving a major labor union, he said, it's kind of like moving a battleship. He said, it moves very slowly to turn it, but when you turn it, it can have a great force. But the other kind of division is that you have all these organizations with different interests, including some workers maybe who are like, I don't wake up every day wanting to fight politics. I just want to do my work, feed my family, and I want a contract. So I imagine maybe you all have some of those same divisions. How did you overcome those, I would say, before and during this martial law crisis?
Yeah, actually in Korea, we have two national center, two confederation of trade unions, which has a totally different historical origin. And so this is the basic division. And even within the KCTU, we are very diverse. So some of our members are well paid in big conglomerates. And thanks to the intensive campaign for organizing, we also have a lot of precarious workers in our union. Around 40% of our membership is precarious workers. Precarious workers covers a lot of different types of works, but mainly when we say the precarious workers in Korea, it is non-regular workers who doesn't have the permanent employment relationship.
Right.
But the overall objective of the KCTU movement is narrow the gap between the workers, the wages and working conditions, and the employment status between the regular workers in big companies and the precarious workers in small companies, and the women workers and men workers, migrant workers, and the local workers.
Great. How did you do that? I really want to hear how you did that.
It's not easy, actually. So we need a lot of discussion among us and the education and training. And we conducted a lot of program. But for the last 20 years, maybe, we tried to organizing precarious workers to improving their working conditions as our top priority.
So this was a 20-year program of saying we have to take these precarious workers, and even though they're not in formal organizations, we have to build unity. So that's one big lesson, I think, for labor here is like you got to, because it's just a massive number of people that can give you the force that you might need and, to win your rights in general, but definitely in authoritarian. Right. Okay. Well, let's go back to that moment. So now, we last left you. Some people have climbed the walls. They're in the parliament. There's people on the streets outside the National Assembly. And you need these lawmakers to do a number of things, right? I mean, how do we get to the next things that happen?
A dramatic day of developments in South Korea, a country now in the grip of a major political crisis. Martial law and military rule declared by President Yoon earlier in the day have now been lifted. He'd accused the country's
between 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. and the situation within the plenary hall was live, broadcasted live. Even the foreign media like BBC. And my colleagues in the Europe and Africa also watching the BBC at the time.
Yeah, the whole world is watching.
Yeah. So the resolution was passed in the 2 a.m., for example. And then the president resisted and withdrew the martial law around 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. So
how do you feel at that moment, Mikyung?
We feel that it is not enough because...
So you're not a feeling of relief, we're out of the woods, but okay, this is a step.
And it is not imaginable that president who declared martial law illegally maintain his office as if it had nothing. So we believe that we have to remove him to save our democracy and the constitutional order. So we push the National Assembly to go for the impeachment process. That night, right after the martial law was withdrawn, the Central Executive Committee of the KCTU convened.
Y'all got together and you're like, all right, come on now. This thing is withdrawn, but this dude can't stay in office. There's no way you could do this and just keep going.
Yeah. So in that meeting, the KCTU central leadership and the president of each affiliated union decide to stage our struggle for the impeachment or a voluntary resignation of the president. And to do this, we launched general strike.
Woo! Woo!
We declared the KCTU will call for a general strike, and we encouraged the leaders of our affiliate to contact their membership. And the target day was December 5th and 6th.
Wow, so like one day later, so December 3rd at night, and then now it's like December 5th, strike, it's on.
Yeah, and it was the Metal Workers Union, which is very disciplined. So they go for the 4 hours for each shift, went on a strike. So the workers in Hyundai, Motors, and Kia, and GM, go on a strike. And
well, hold on, we gotta slow down that part. Just so we're clear about what was getting ready to get shut down. You're talking about the car companies, the metal companies, the metal workers are working in some of the technology companies. Ooh, I know they didn't want that, Mikyung.
Yeah, and addition to this, some workers, for example, the railway workers and the non-regular workers in education sector, actually they plan to go on a strike to push their collective bargaining session at that time. And they also join and they call for the resignation and impeachment of the president along with their demand for the collective bargaining. So on 7th of December, the Saturday, and the 14th of December, when the National Assembly tabled the impeachment bill, we called for all the citizens together in front of the National Assembly again to push them to pass the bill, because even it is very, very clear that this martial law declaration is illegal, but the ruling party was very reluctant join this impeachment call. So we have to push them.
In order for the South Korean legislators to move forward with impeachment, the KCTU would have to mobilize even more people than they did to get the martial law rescinded. So they talked to all of their union leaders, they talked to workers, they talked to the press, and over the next few days, South Korean people started pouring into the street.
In the calculation by the Journalist Association, at that time, around 2 million people was in the Yeouido area on 7th and 14th.
Wow, 2 million people. That's major. Wow.
On the street.
And these 2 million people that turned out were labor for sure, right? All the different labor, KCTU, other labor organizations, but also ordinary people?
It was amazing because when we appeared to the people, we didn't expect which people appear. But from the 7th of December and the 14th of December as well, many young women, especially in their 20s and 30s, joined the protest with their light stick, which is a symbol of their favorite K-pop band. So they had not been associated with the social movement at all, but they believe that in order to get impeachment bill passed, we join our force. And the most precious thing I have is the light stick.
Oh, wow.
So they want to make the society bright. So they bring the light stick and they join.
Mikyung, you can't do this to me. I'm an old man. You're going to make me cry, man. I just feel it because what I feel about this is it shows that when, of course, people take the leadership to do the labor organizing, but now you're drawing in people who, like you said, weren't formally affiliated with social movement.
Yeah, and it's very powerful, and it shows that the union movement is very strong. But in other way, it's very difficult for the people outside the union join this type of protest. But during this impeachment protest with the light stick, even the labor movement believed that to invite more young people in this protest, we have to give up our own traditional way of protest. So we started to sing not the labor movement and militant labor movement song than the K-pop songs. And we opened the stage not for the leadership, but for the ordinary people. So normally in the protest, the people who speak, who make a speech on the stage is the leadership of the trade union or some named figure of the social movement. But during this period, many young people want to tell their stories and why they want to deliver the messages, why they appear and why they joined and why they believe that the impeachment is very important for their life.
No, this is like tremendous lessons because I think, again, you have people who are used to formal labor organizations or even other kinds of social movement organizations, and discipline is the order of the day. And as you mentioned, Mikyung, discipline is important. You wouldn't have turned out that many people. The call for general strike can happen just without discipline and planning. But then it sounds like at the right moment, you all realize if we want this to sustain, if we want to welcome more people in, we have to loosen a little bit, invite different people, show different kinds of leadership, and embrace. And I think that's a lesson for our movements. We got to embrace what is the on-ramp for someone who's not formally. They have to have a way in to embrace this necessary movement to defeat authoritarianism. You got 2 million people outside. When did you start to feel like, okay, he's going to be impeached? This is going to happen.
So the 14th of December, the National Assembly passed the impeachment bill.
Woo! Woo! This episode of Unruly Subjects is brought to you by Haymarket Books, which has loads of great left-wing titles, perfect for listeners like you. And one that I know you're going to feel is The Extended Universe, How Disney Killed the Movies and Took Over the World by Vicky Osterweil. A provocative history of Disney's rise to cultural dominance, The Extended Universe pulls skeletons from the corporate closet to decode the political messages hidden in all your favorite childhood movies. In The Extended Universe, Vicky Osterweil takes us on a quest to discover how Disney's Imagineers have made it impossible to reflect on the wonders of growing up without thinking of Disney's movies, amusement parks, and merchandising. Drawing on extensive interviews with filmmakers, screenwriters, union organizers, and Disney adults alike, Osterweil unearths reactionary political commitments and maleficent legal maneuvers so cartoonishly evil they would make one of Walt's own animated villains blush. As Natasha Leonard puts it, Osterweil is the brilliant, generous, and revolutionary guide we need to rethink cultural production today and kill the mouse inside our heads. Find The Extended Universe at haymarketbooks.org, where all hardcover books are 10% off every day. Mikyung says getting the impeachment bill passed was a big moment, but President Yoon Suk-yeol had refused to cooperate with the investigation, and he had resisted arrest. So the KCTU had to strike a balance. On the one hand, they needed to endorse what the National Assembly had done.
At the same time, we also deliver our message that he should be criminally punished as well. So we mobilize ourselves again to push the police to arrest him. And we continue our campaign for the impeachment process as well. But at that moment, we faced a very new phenomena. And I believe that it was influenced by the Trump supporters MAGA movement in the US. And Yoon Suk-yeol himself mobilized their supporters, and some evangelical churches and some right-wing protests on the street start to emerge at the time.
Wow.
So,
but you get this counter-conservative movement. Was that movement popular?
It's not minor, actually. It was influential, but the important thing is they were recognized by the conservative politicians like the then ruling party, the People's Power Party, and many politicians start to appeal to this movement to the support. And even Yoon Suk-yeol also instigate these people. For example, when he was resisting the arrest, he wrote a letter to them and he appealed them to protect himself. And he encouraged them, the protecting him is the protecting our democracy and our society and our nation. So it was a very, very new phenomena that there were some that kind of cult-type right-wing movement previously, but it was the first time in history that the political parties in the parliament, even in the government, recognize this movement.
What I hear you saying is like these people, the president is actually appealing. He's instigating these people in the same way our president, our president instigated for people on January 6th.
Yeah.
And then you have like this movement, which is violent. It's explicitly anti-democratic. And yet you had politicians sign on. Here, we saw in the Conservative Party, people signing on to January 6th, essentially like something. Now, I got to say, while that was shocking, as a Black American, I have to say it's not unprecedented, right? It makes me think about the Reconstruction period in the United States after, the Civil War, when there was tremendous participation actually throughout this, the South and throughout the country, Black people. You had conservative politicians advocating for violent reaction. So we have a history of that. But fast forwarding to this moment, one question I have is here. One thing that has happened is there's been a lot of marching. There's been a lot of mass. In fact, I think these No Kings protests, which are massive, they're like just hundreds of thousands of millions of people across the country are on the streets. But these protests don't really seem to move. I mean, they've been successful in bringing more people in, but they certainly haven't moved the top leadership of our government. And in some cases, they don't even seem to move the Democratic Party, which in theory would be the force that could fight back against authoritarianism here and fascism. So what do you think it was about, in addition to you all coming in the streets, that actually made that pressure be felt?
It's not easy to say, but the role of the labor movement is obvious. Just imagine, it's not easy for the ordinary people to get in some place every weekend, give up their normal lives. So it was not constant, especially during the Seollal, the national holiday for the Lunar New Year's period. So
Right.
It was not very constant. So when the turnout and the number of participants reduced, we tried to, our leadership visited the workplaces and organized a kind of discussion how we can continue this movement.
To sustain the process. Oh, wow.
And we planned some events. We hold interim national convention of the KCTU outdoor. And then from early April, we start to overnight protests just in front of the constitutional office.
That's helpful. So that was a powerful escalation, right? To really say, hey, we gotta do this. But also what you said about going to speak to people to sustain it. After 4 months of massive gatherings, of protests, of conversations with workers, speeches, and singing, it finally looked like things were about to shift.
Maybe one day before, the Constitutional Court announced that they will deliver the decision. And it was 4th of April, I remember. It's already 2 years ago. So, when we knew that the Constitutional Court convened one day after, we staged an overnight celebration, and all the major TV channel broadcast the reading of the decision live. So we watched together it on the street. And when the head of justice delivered the verdict, everybody was very enthusiastic, and we said, "Oh, we did it."
Yeah, I mean, what a journey from that night of December 3rd, where you're home seeing this horror show, to the people, and it's a victory of all the people. I mean, it's so powerful, and I think it's something that here people can, sort of dream about and work toward. So, from your perspective, I mean, looking over at us and dealing with what we have to deal with, our context of labor, the divisions, but most importantly, this wild ramping up of what I think is a version of fascism here in the U.S. What lessons do you think you can offer us?
People in Korea, when we watch the news, what is happening under the Trump administration in the U.S., especially ICE operation and the Minneapolis death of the citizens, so we're horrified. We cannot imagine how much courage you need to defeat this fascist situation. But I am humbly sad that the persistent and never giving up is the key. We don't know when we achieve some victory, and we are not sure whether this movement see the concrete outcome. But if you maintain your movement and your contribution in the movement, someday the victory will be ours.
All right, y'all, you know what I mean? That was my conversation with Mikyung Ryu. Wow. I mean, so many lessons and I'm so thankful to her for the way she told the story and just for the insight and for the courage of this organization. One of the lessons that I really took away is that obviously strategy and pre-organization is important, but movements don't live on just strategy, right? It's like culture is involved. When she talked about how, how some of the younger folks and different people got involved, right? It's those forces of memory, right? And, sort of symbols. And I think, look, if you see the culture of South Korean protests, they're so creative in the way that they bring those things in. Because people need things that are going to help them feel that they're part of something larger than their fear. And one of those things is music, right? It's one of the most important things. And you saw music throughout these protests, right? I remember there's some really fascinating clips of people singing the K-pop song Whiplash, holding the light sticks, as Mikyung was saying. I mean, really, really moving stuff. And one song that I recently learned about that really moved me is one of the best known labor songs in South Korea. It's called The Worker of Steel. That's how it's frequently translated. And it was created in 1990 by An Chi-hwan for the film The Night Before the Strike. This was an independent film that itself became part of political struggle. The film depicts uprising and, response to anti-democratic forces, and it was suppressed and blocked. But, all kinds of folks, including students, organized to make sure that people could see the film. And at the end of the film, there's like this incredible scene where you see workers, stop, shut down their work in the factories and pick up wrenches and just rally. And it's a powerful scene. And this song is playing over it. And oh my God, I just wanted to end this episode with this song because it just is so powerful. So we're going to play it and I'm going to read some of the translation over it, but you got to go check this out. It's a powerful song, and much respect to really workers all around the world. I see this as something that's powerful for all of us, but particularly I want to give a shout out and respect to, the KCTU and workers in South Korea who really have given history an example that people uprising can win against authoritarian power. Oh yeah, man. Y'all hear that? Y'all hear this song? Yo, listen, I don't speak Korean, so these translations might be bad, but I just want y'all to hear these lyrics. I listen to a lot of lyrics where if you look at them on paper, they're not that inspiring, but listen to these lyrics, man. Come under the flag of the Democratic Trade Union. Let's regain our stolen blood and sweat through struggles. Steel-like will to liberation. Come, gather and defend. Feel with your whole body that you're alive in the struggle. Unity is the only way to live. Workers are the way to live. Even if I live my day, I want to live like a human being. Come on, man. The love achieved through our love struggle. Unity, struggle, our weapon. You and me, workers of steel. Yeah, man. Come on, man. Let that lift you up. Unruly Subjects is produced in partnership with Rohome Productions. Yes. Proud of Rohome. Alex Lewis is Rohome's creative director. John Myers is Rohome's executive producer. And welcome to Danya Abdelhamid, who's helping us out, part of the Rohome team, you know what I mean? Yo, I got to give a big shout out to Natalie Peart. Natalie is a really talented producer, and she put in so much work on editing and just, getting this episode right for everybody's ears. It wouldn't have happened without you, Natalie. Thank you. Shout out to my wife, Sadaka. Shout out to my daughter, Inyola. Shout out to my assistant, Carissa. And big thanks to my special guest this week, Mikyung Ryu, the International Director of the Korean Confederation of Trade Unions. You know what I'm saying? I can't believe you talked to me, but I'm so glad you did. Also, I want to shout out, my friend and mentor, Sam Richards, who helped to make that possible, and also Lim Jae-seong, who helped to make that connection. Our theme music was composed by Axel Kakutier. Alex Tatusian made our tile art. Make sure you subscribe to Unruly Subjects wherever you get your podcasts. If you're enjoying Unruly Subjects, leave us a review. You know what I mean? That's really important. It matters. You know what I mean? And tell everybody about the show if you liked it. We're still spreading the word. You can follow the show on Instagram at Unruly Subjects Pod, and my personal Instagram is at Chenjerai. And by the way, did you hear our episode from last week with my wife, Sadaka? It was our special episode for Black Maternal Health Week, and we also got to hear from a full-spectrum doula named Shantice and a new mother who is currently going through it. Her name is Malaysia. Check that out. I think you'll really appreciate it, and we'll be back next week. Peace. Rohome Productions. Unruly Subjects is supported by listeners just like you. Join us at patreon.com/unrulysubjects.